Hi, I'm Peter Hill, and this is The D Word, the show where we talk dementia. Glad to have you company again here on The D Word. Now, we're always interested in hearing people's stories, and this week I'm delighted to say we have the chance to hear from Daniel Peacock, a successful actor and writer before his father Trevor, also a well-known actor, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. It was a diagnosis that changed Daniel's life. People have varying reaction to their loved ones having a diagnosis of dementia. In this week's guest case, it led to a complete change of career. Daniel Peacock had a successful acting and writing career, but he gave it all up to become a full-time carer, working in a care home in Hastings. Before we talk about his career change, I wonder what Daniel knew about dementia before his father, Trevor, was diagnosed.
Right, that's a great question, Pete. First of all, let me say it's lovely to be here and lovely to meet you. I was obviously aware of the word, or actually probably the word Alzheimer's I was more aware of. That's it. That's all I knew until one day my stepmom Tilly, who's very, very lovely, called me up and said, "Can I come and see Dad in Yeovil?" So I went up there. He seemed fine. To be honest with you, a little bit forgetful, but then again, I put that down to Dad getting a bit older. I'm forgetful. I'm 64. Till said to me, "How do you think your dad was?" And I said, "He was fine. He's just like Dad." And she said, "Well, he's just being diagnosed with dementia." And I thought, well, okay, well, he looks fine to me and sounds fine. I didn't even realise it was a progressively, degenerating disease. I had no idea of anything like that. I just thought, well, if he's got it, he seems fine on it, But then I went up there a few months later, and he's noticeably worse and getting angry at himself for not remembering pretty simple words and things like that. So then a few months, forward a few months, Till said, "Dad's in a residential care home." So I said, okay. So I went up to see him, and it was the first time I'd seen him with it. It obviously really accelerated. He did recognise me, but that was about it, I think. And then it was that point, and also being in the community there with other dementia Alzheimer's residents. It was a lot of residents and me, and I suddenly thought, "Oh, this is dementia, is it? This is what it's like," which was absolutely shocking. And the time just after that, maybe 6 months later, I went up, and now Dad he looked physically different and had got decidedly worse, really. And at that time, it really hit me bad, and I cried and cried and cried, like we all do from time to time. But it was what I call a serious emotional cry. There was no, it was absolutely painful. So that's really how I started to become aware of dementia. And then I think possibly I obviously went to see Dad not that often. I wasn't sort of good like my sister, or certainly like Tilly, or my brother, or my other sister Maudie, who were up there on a pretty regular basis. I'm slightly ashamed to say I kind of backed away. I couldn't really handle it. Now I've learned that's a relatively, not common, but that's how some people deal with it, and that's certainly how I dealt with it. We have here at Hastings Court, we have what we call the Memory Cafe, which is just for dementia residents, families and loved ones, to discuss their feelings in a safe place. And I like to think I go some way to. I always think if I can show the loved ones that this is a good place, that we are good people taking care of their loved ones, then they'll go home slightly happier than I ever did.
Yeah, I was just saying it's a very tough time for the whole family. when someone gets diagnosed with dementia, and it often seems that all the concentration is on the person with the diagnosis, which perhaps is correct, but sometimes the family get ignored.
Well, that's certainly my experience here, and that's something which I go to great lengths, and I know the rest of the staff here do, to make sure that isn't. The families are not ignored. The families are embraced and where possible, shown as much love and affection as we do their loved ones, the residents. Because I don't think it's. Of course, it is quite right to give your everything to a resident, but then you've got to find the extra to give as much as you can to the loved ones and the family members, especially the younger members, the younger members of a resident's family, because they can get very confused at seeing their dad or their grandma or their grandpa in such a way. So they need to be reassured at all points, I think, that the family member is being loved and cared for.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you made a big decision, didn't you? I mean, moved careers that not a lot of people do. How did that come about? What was your train of thought in moving your career to full-time caring?
Well, what happened was I was writing a show called Marley's Ghosts for UK TV, and it was the second series. I to not get away from, but to get some sort of little solitary place. I bought a caravan. So I had my place in Cobham, but I got a caravan in Romney to write the second series, and I really enjoyed it. And I was staying there more than I was in Cobham, and I didn't get a third series. And my son was now coming up with me whenever I came up to the caravan in Romney. And I didn't get a third series. Therefore, I was still writing, but I wasn't writing as much as when I've been doing Marley's Ghosts. I was watching a bit too much TV, but I was enjoying being right on the beach, basically, because it was right on the beach. And Charlie, my son, said, "Dad, you should, you've got to do, you should get a job." And I said, "Well, I can't do anything else. I can act, I can write, I can direct a bit, but that's it. I can't do anything else." He was looking for a job at that time, and he said to me, "Look, what about this one? It sounds a bit like you. It says energy, entertainer, activities, plenty of love." And I said, "What's that?" I said, "What's that?" And he said, "It's an activities job at a residential care home in Hastings." So I thought long and hard about it. And I thought, well, I don't need the money. I'm sort of financially okay. But I thought, well, I am watching too much TV and I'm putting on too much weight. So I thought, all right, well, I'll apply. And I applied. And then I think within a couple of days, they got in touch saying, "Coming for an interview." I went for the interview, thinking I said, well, it was all a bit surreal, really. But anyway, I applied. And by the time I got home, they phoned me up. And they offered me the job. And as long as my police check worked out, whatever that's called, which it did, because, so I'm not a bad guy, as long as that was on record, which it was, I started a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks later. And that was 3 years ago. I mean, I did do a BBC show recently called Strike. I did an episode of that. So, which I kind of need to do every now and then to keep me funded, if you will. But I would never, having said that, I mean, Hastings Court is where I am. That's what I do now.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Shortly, you'll be able to hear the D Word as a podcast, available on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Music and Google Play. In fact, all of UK Health Radio shows will be available in that format. So for more details, keep an eye on the website at ukhealthradio.com. My guest this week is Daniel Peacock, who gave us a successful acting and writing career to become a full-time carer at Hastings Court in Sussex. So what does Daniel's day consist of?
Yeah, well, standard day, I'll get up at 8:30, have a shower, cup of tea, cigarette, drive. Because I moved out of one caravan. I moved into a caravan in Hastings, about a mile away from where I am. So it's about a minute drive. Stop off at the Spa, buy some more cigarettes, park up to Hastings Court, get in the car park, do the COVID test and the temperature test, which is always okay. I like that because they've got a new speaking one which says you are normal. Right, so you put your forehead against the thing and it says you are normal. And I like to know that I'm normal. And if I do that, I then go in, clock in. First thing I do is I do the papers. Go around the back, get all the papers. Big old stack. There's about 50 papers. The various floors, put them all on the floors. And me and my colleague Sharon, who's also Lifestyles, will go and deliver the papers, which gives me a chance to find out, the mood of certain residents, if you will, to, if they had a good night's sleep, if they're well rested, if they're looking forward to the day. Because as I'm sure you know, Pete, this isn't just a dementia. There's 3 floors dealing with different challenges. So I like to find out, what the mood of the place is, and I'll adjust myself accordingly. I'll come back down, have a large couple of shots of espresso, have another cigarette, and then like this morning, for example, I think about 10:30, we have our own minibus. I took 2 of our residents swimming to a holiday park further away from my one, called Crowhurst Park, they've been really generous, and they let us just turn up and take residents swimming. So I did that. So we had a swim with them. After that, went for a drink with the two residents. It's not just me and 2 residents. It's me, 2 carers and 2 residents. So they're well looked after. And we chatted about things in the bar afterwards. Then we drove back to Hastings Court, by which time it was lunch. I then plotted out the quiz for Dan's Big Quiz. Every week we have a round of what I call Dan's Big Quiz, which is for the Brenda Wicker Challenge Cup. Brenda was a resident who's sadly no longer with us, but she was a great quizzer. So I bought a great big silver cup and had a plaque made called the Brenda Wicker Challenge Cup. It's a 5-week quiz, goes through 5 rounds, and whatever community has the most points at the end gets the cup to display on their floor. But it's not an easy quiz. And families love to come and join in as well, but it really these are serious questions. It's not for the squeamish. So we have a really good quiz. We had a good quiz then. Then the masseur came. We have a masseur, and I went round seeing who wanted a massage. So I made sure that everyone got their massage. And then came back down, and we got the entertainer going today. We had a guy called Richie Lee, who's really, really great singer. And as he sung, myself and Sharon, we get everyone up dancing. Then we go into the bistro bar about 3:30 for drinks, whatever people want: wine, beer, coffee, tea, lots of sherry. And we all have a chat. And then I came in here and press the buttons on my computer and start to talk to you. But also, interspersed with all that, we do a lot of, I make a lot of, videos. We write our own songs and make our own videos with the residents. So I'm always making a video, if you will, for the residents, with the residents. And so that goes on. I've just finished there's a lady called Pam, who's here. She's a resident I get on very well with. And over the months, I don't know how these things come about. She went from Pam to Princess Pam to Princess Pamelina. And when I started, she won't only answer to Princess Pamelina now. And her grandson asked her how she became a princess. So I went away and I wrote which is a comic as to how Pam from Crystal Palace became Princess Pamelina. So there's those sort of things that go on, which are slowly developing. Interspersed with obviously our entertainers. Also, we have big dance, big quiz. I do a thing called Music and Memories, which I really enjoy. Actually, it's become quite popular. We have about 30 residents, 40 residents come down and they discuss something regarding a memory which is associated with music. Maybe it was the first time you kissed your boyfriend, or the day you got married or proposed to. And is there a song that you associate with that moment, a special moment in your life? And there always is. We've all got a soundtrack to our life. So a resident will talk about that memory, and I'll then, through the magic of technology, just speak into a little thingy and bang off it. It only comes on our giant TV screen, whatever song it is. So that's a good one. So that's kind of day in, day out. But as I say, every day I get up, I look forward to coming in.
Yeah, it's a full-on day, isn't it? Definitely.
It always is full-on, absolutely. And the lunch situation, sometimes I'm in a situation which is my own fault, and I go, did I have lunch today? And I say, no, I didn't even have lunch. You're just on it, you're just sort of working, but it's not work, it's a joy.
We're always happy to hear from you. You can contact us on social media at TDW Radio on Twitter, the TDW Radio Facebook page, where you'll also find loads of useful information, or by email to tdwradio@gmail.com. I'm chatting to Daniel Peacock, who's been involved in a number of great comedy projects over the years, including an appearance in the classic comedy series Only Fools and Horses. People tend to shy away from humour when dealing with dementia, but I still feel there's a place for it in providing a great standard of care.
I completely agree with you. And again, I like to think that over my life, I've learned that comedy is vital. Because it is to all walks of life, to everything, to everything that one does. I always think of it with a bit of comic spin, whatever the problem might be or whatever the situation might be. And I certainly bring that to Hastings Court as best I can. Fundamentally, I will have a running gag a different running gag with every member of staff and every resident here. So it's I walk around the floors and I'm just gagging. I'm just gagging it up, but not in a bad way. In a really, what I like to think is quite an entertaining way. And when I do the musical memories or the quiz, it's also a slightly comic performance that I give, even though it's not a performance, it's just me. But I do inject comedy, and I think, as you rightly said, Pete, residents really appreciate. Who doesn't appreciate laughing? Well, especially if things aren't so good, if things are getting a bit dark in one's world, and if you can find some comedy, then you found some light.
Yeah, definitely. 100% agree with you. And also, you must learn a lot off the residents as well. I mean, some of the best one-liners I've ever heard were when I was working with activity groups. Where I had a boxer from Kentish Town, H as we called him. He was one of 13 children. And I said to him, H, one of 13? He said, yeah, it's unfortunate my mum and dad couldn't afford a telly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, of course, you learn a huge amount. I mean, I've said this once or twice before. I'm not a particularly knowledgeable person, but I do know a little bit about certain bits of history, and certainly a bit about the Second World War, for example, and that period and the 60s. And I've seen, I've acted in dramas that are set in the 60s. I've done that with Second World War as well. I've played soldiers, and I'm always interested in documentaries and regarding the Second World War. But suddenly, there's the guy, you're talking to the guy, and he says, "Yeah, I was at Normandy." I say, "Seriously? Yeah." And I say, "Can you talk about it?" And he said, "Yeah, of course I can." and they'll tell me the stories. And now you're talking to the guy that was there. You're not watching a documentary or scripted drama. This guy was there, running up those beaches, being shot at, losing his friends, falling around him. So that happens a lot. But the Brenda Wicker Challenge Cup, for example, comes from this lady Brenda, who, as I said, no longer with us. She's a lovely lady. I've got on really well with her. And she was a corporal in the army during the war, and she had to look. She was a young corporal. She wasn't a big person. And she was given the job of looking after 100 great big burly Scotsmen. She was in charge of them. I said she used to look back at that with great delight, I think. So you absolutely you learn more and more about the 60s. For a lot of our residents lived to. I lived in the 60s, but I was a little boy. These people were actually there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot we can take from that. Now, you and I know, are passionate about the role of carers.
Yeah,
who play a very vital role in everything they do. But unfortunately, they don't seem to have the image. They seem to be ignored, which is so sad.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I think probably over the years you hear these horror stories and you see, clips of hidden cameras, and it's just absolutely horrifying and appalling. So that doesn't help. But even that's quite right to expose it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Jesus. I mean, some people just shouldn't be caring for other people. I think a carer has to fundamentally just love other human beings and want to look after other human beings. That's one of the fundamental things that they should have. It's also maybe it's because the care takes place behind walls. You never see it out. I was very, very unaware of carers myself until I became part of the caring industry. I mean, we go out on lots of trips. We're in Hastings because we're lucky because we've got our own minibus and we can go down to the beach anytime we want. We go swimming now, like I did this morning. We go to the golf range. These are things that, because when I've talked to people, and actually I was surprised to hear that not every home that doesn't do those things, but they don't. You just have a little bit of imagination. And also what I do is, if I'm out and about and I see something that the residents might like to do, I'll go and blag it. I'll go up to the guy and I say, I'm from Hastings Court Residents Care Home. If you've been doing us a wonderful service and a great favour, if you allow my residents to come down here and do this, that or that. And more often than not, people are actually very generous and they go, yeah, of course. Yeah. So I'd like to think that myself and the rest of the Lifestyles team, Sharon, Zoe, have made a difference to our residents.
Yeah.
So that was to answer your question regarding it doesn't get a lot of exposure. And as I say, it's because I don't think people actually see what a carer does. People just recently I've been asked, I don't think. There's been a couple of interviews on BBC and ITV recently, and I think I know the little crews that came down they were shocked to see actually what activities actually does. Because especially lifestyles or activities, whatever you want to call it, it's never really associated with care. It's always like an attachment to care. In fact, personally, I think it's one of the most important aspects of care. Now, of course, safety and any medical needs are vital, of course, but also hand in hand with that, so are activities and lifestyles. Getting residents to laugh, getting residents out and about. We have a thing called, I started a thing called the League of Residents, which is a group of about 20 residents that like to discuss things, and we discuss major topics. We've got our local MP that comes in and gets it in the air sometimes. She doesn't come in for an easy time. She comes, Sally Ann Hart. She's very, very good. She comes in and really does listen to what the residents have to say and tries to do things about it. But we have many quite heated discussions amongst ourselves. One of my things is, I don't know if this is me. I know I heard this saying, but it was recently, all human beings want to be loved, safe and heard. Those are the three things. And we can care, good care, can provide the safety, without a shadow of a doubt. You can also go some way to providing the love, not just to the resident, but also to the resident families. But it's important to me that my residents are heard.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
My guest this week is Daniel Peacock, now working as a full-time carer at Hastings Court in Sussex. As part of the lifestyle team, Daniel is always looking at creative ways to make his residents' lives better.
Yeah, I do. When I first started, I sort of found myself just what little expertise I have, but I'm bringing those with me to Hastings Court. I.e. making the videos, keeping things comic as best I could at all points, keeping things, and also politeness. When people come in, I want to make it like it's not a 5-star hotel; it's a residential care home. But I want the residents and the loved ones to feel that this is a 5-star hotel. You want tough coffee, teas, brandy, whatever you want. Immediately, it's offered. I'll get it for them, whatever that people need. So that it's a nice living experience, and the residents, loved ones, will go home, knowing that they're or thinking, less worried than they used to go. Than I used to go home when after seeing my dad.
Yeah, that's that's a very important thing. What you do has been recognised as well. You were nominated for a National Carers Award.
I was, yeah. Right.
That must have been, really, really rewarding for you.
Yeah, it was in the what was it? The activities coordinator category, I believe. I didn't win, but it was a lovely night. We went down to London and had a lovely evening. So and you meet carers and various people from other care homes within the Oakland Care Group, if you will. So we get on. We all got on incredibly well, and I was very proud to be nominated.
And I guess in meeting people from other homes, etc. You can all bounce off each other, can't you? And,
absolutely.
It may be a difficult question, but what's the major thing you have learned since your change of career?
I suppose I've learned that I'm a better person than I thought I was. That's for sure. I've learned to be more patient, and I've learned that everyone's life is equally of value and should be respected and treated as such.
Yeah, that last one I think is absolutely key. Because, the saying goes, if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia. Yeah. We're all different. Everybody is different, and we all bring something. Yeah. I think it's really important what you're doing with activities and lifestyles, that you can demonstrate, tell me what you can do. Don't concentrate on what you can't do.
That's right, yeah.
And, that's such an important message, I think, to get across to...
absolutely. Whatever, like we got a gentleman here, who actually, this was about 2-3 months ago, and I said, do you want to come swimming on one of our swimming trips? He has dementia, severe. So we took him swimming. Funnily enough, just after that, he became slightly more lucid, and we started to talk about hobbies, and especially it seemed to me that one of his major passions was playing golf. And it was only then I thought, well, okay. So I made some phone calls, found a club with a driving range locally, And I said, should we go and hit some balls down the driving range? So we got in our minibus and off we went. And what was fascinating was golf is all about muscle memory. You know, you don't forget how to swing a club in the correct manner. And he was hitting balls as well. I used to play a lot of golf, but he was he was hitting balls as long as me and as correctly as me. You know, and he had dementia and I hadn't, and he loved it. He loved it. You know, to see that, to experience again that crack of the club and the ball going straight and high. He loved it. So yes, and that was something I found. That he could do that. He could do that well. So let's do that a lot.
Which, is important, very important, I feel. I mean, I feel sometimes that, we concentrate a lot on the medical route, which, okay, is fine, but this whole social interaction thing is something that often gets ignored and, dare I say it, kind of devalued as well. People don't realise the value of that kind of social interaction.
Well, of course, and that's why, myself and Lifestyles team, we really promote as many activities where social interaction, if you want it, is vital to it. It's vital to whatever activity. I mean, as I say, the League of Residents, it's a really vibrant discussion group, which people really look forward to. The quiz, for example, these are each community has a quiz, as a quiz team, are made up of approximately 10, 12 players or team members. And they're very difficult questions, but you've got 10 people on each team with a lot of life experience, and often one of them will know the answer. So it's, I'm all surprised that these people can know these quite obscure questions. And family members are invited and they join in and they seem to love it as well. And that's all about the social interaction because they will be discussing the rights and wrongs of an answer.
Yeah, I think it's great to get families involved as well because good dementia care to me is a partnership. The person with the diagnosis and the family, where it works best is when they're both engaged together.
That's right, exactly right. Yeah, and that's what we try to encourage. I certainly do. Yeah, as much stuff with the family.
Yeah, I think you've obviously you owned the Memory Cafe as well, which I guess helps in that respect as well.
Oh yeah, I mean the Memory Cafe is very popular and can, as it always does, become very emotional. And I speak, and there's lots of the staff members here. Sharon, who I work with, as I said, her mother had dementia in the past recently, so she's always got a lot to say about it. And from an expert point of view, she's been living. What she works here because her mum went basically the story is her mum came in here 7 odd years ago. Sharon would come and visit her and suddenly thought this is a rather wonderful place and got a job here. And she went from reception to hospitality and now she's on Lifestyles. So she's got there's Kelly from Sunflower. Sunflower is our dementia community. Kelly is one of our team leaders. She's always because she knows so much about dementia. She's been doing it for 10, 15 years. So she comes down to the cafe, the Memory Cafe. I'm there. So other staff members who have loved ones who have dementia, they're there. And then, 12, 15 family members come in to express themselves, their hopes and their fears.
Yeah, I think it's a great setup you got there. Unfortunately, time is drawing us to a close. I just want to say thank you, Daniel, for being my guest on the D Word, and I'm sure thank you from all the residents and everybody at Hastings Court for everything you do.
That's my pleasure, Peter. Honestly, thank you so much.
Thanks to Daniel for letting us in on his story, and I wish him every success in his role at Hastings Court, where he's making a great difference to the lives of residents living with dementia. that's all we have time for this week. Thanks as always to Angela, our production assistant. With Christmas fast approaching, for the next week we'll be looking back on some of the amazing people we've met this year, as well as playing some of our favourite seasonal music. So until then, thanks for listening and take care now.